Starfleet Underground. Every week, we'll take a look at the latest Star Trek news and then check out a current or classic episode of Star Trek. This week, the Star Trek Las Vegas convention gets an update. What in the F is wrong with Edward? Modern methods in DNA collection and how to combine it with Tribbles. Saru should totally be wearing a cape, and history doesn't have to repeat itself. We can work together to make things better. You know, like in Star Trek.
Good day, everyone, and welcome back to Starfleet Underground, where we're being sponsored by Section 31, and our shields are constantly at 47%. My name is Nathan. I'm captain of this here vessel as we hurl through unknown space trying to make our way back to the Alpha Quadrant. And we have here Rocky.
Hello, good morning, or afternoon or evening, depending on which time zone you are in.
Yes, and we also have Heather.
Hello, good to see you. Well, from my computer, it is both morning, afternoon, and evening. This autocorrect on here is messing up all of my messages. I am just saying we need to do something about these, problems we're having on this bridge.
I was going to ask you about that because you sent me a message with a unicorn on it, and
oh no, that was actually that was meant
that's a legit message.
Yeah, that was legit.
Okay. I'll see you later.
Well, I have an answer to your problem.
Ooh.
I reached out to somebody who I served with, and it seems to be only fitting because I was his number one, and now he's going to be my number one. And that's we've had him here on the board the vessel. I've made a room for him and everything, and that's going to be Captain Patrick Hall.
Woo!
Good morning, everybody. How are y'all doing?
Welcome.
I'll beam over shortly, Heather, and fix that computer problem for you.
Oh, thank God. We really need that. I am so glad that you are here and you could start fixing some stuff that we've had going on.
Just put those Tribbles away. I don't want to see any Tribbles.
Unfortunately, there's Tribbles all over the bridge, and they just keep multiplying.
You didn't tell them about the Tribbles?
Well, I figured we would, discuss the whole Tribble situation today.
There are Tribbles.
They're all over the place. And also, Patrick, I need you to smooth things over with that VIP. He still hasn't gotten over the fact that I called him a whore.
Not a problem. My specialty. I'm used to dealing with whores.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining me in the crew recreation room so we could see the stuff that we were going to talk about today. So that was nice. And wherever you got that popcorn from, because it wasn't from Earth, was quite tasty. However, in the half-light, I swore one of the colonels moved, but do not confirm that for me, please.
It was Klingon corn.
Okay. So we're gonna.
It'll stick to everything.
Okay, as long as it doesn't, if there's a problem in that rec room, I'll require you to fix it up.
It's going to wreck your room, though.
No.
As long as it's not Tribbles. I think he's had enough Tribbles in his food and stuff.
Yeah, that's not going to be a good thing.
No.
Let's go ahead.
Food doesn't go well with food.
No, we're going to talk about that actually in a little bit. We're going to hit the news. Has anybody got any news to share? You, Heather?
I do have some news. So Star Trek released, I guess, a post, you would say. It wasn't really like a news post. It was an article. Anyway, they released a statement saying that they support Black Lives Matter with everything that's going on Earth right now. And I want to read the quote real quick. Quoted from Star Trek, "Black lives matter. Black culture matters. Black communities matter. We stand in solidarity with our Black colleagues, creators, partners, and audience, and condemn all acts of racism, discrimination, and senseless acts of violence."
Nice.
Well, that's what Star Trek is definitely built on.
Well, yeah, I mean, the IDIC philosophy is
even in the original series in the 60s, it was nice to see such a wide range of crew members,
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we're going to actually use next week's episode to talk about that. So I'm going to jump ahead real quick to tell you the homework now rather than the end.
And I've got 2 news stories too after you're done.
Oh, of course. Before we exit out today, next week, if you want to be interested in a lively discussion, it's going to be Far Beyond the Stars, and it's a Deep Space Nine episode. So when you have a moment, see if you can view that, and that's what we'll be discussing. And what is your news today there, Patrick?
Well, there's two items. One, it's a little sad, but John Winston, who was the Star Trek Transporter Chief Lieutenant Kyle, has passed away.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so that's the first one. And the second one is Star Trek Las Vegas has been changed to December 9th through the 13th, and it's going to be at the Conference Center at Caesars in Las Vegas.
Wow.
Also, if you want a refund on your tickets, you have until the 19th to request that. Otherwise, it rolls over to December.
Are you serious? They're only giving you until the 19th?
They've got to do more than that. That's ridiculous. Nope. They got to give us a little bit more time to because, I mean, come on, let's be honest. If this whole pandemic thing keeps going and December doesn't happen, we're going to want it to happen the year after. We're going to put our money where our fandom is. So it's just, right. Let us, control this just a little bit.
If you don't put in for the refund, your tickets will roll over to the December event. And I would assume that, if December doesn't happen, they would probably roll it over to the next year as well. But if you want a actual refund, you have to do it before the 19th.
So if you need the money, because, it is a considerable amount of funding depending on where your seat is.
Mm-hmm.
It could come in handy considering certain people are cut back in their hours in their real life job.
Yes.
So I can relate to that.
Yeah, them gold chair tickets are expensive, man.
Yes, they are. And then if you talk about the hotel reservations too, it's like a month's worth of pay.
And that is a really messed up thing to do, to give people 2 weeks notice, because sometimes it takes a week or two for people to hear the news. And then once they hear the news, that time is already passed, then they can't get their ticket or their refund.
Yeah. Well, it's creation. Come on. So
I know.
Do we expect anything more?
I would imagine they'd probably just tack on a convenience charge to that.
Right. Oh my.
If Ferengi own the world.
Yeah.
Oh wait, they
do. A convenience fee to send you an email ticket.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very
hello?
convenient.
What? No. Yeah. What rule of acquisition is that?
Oh, I'm pretty sure there is one.
So are you guys going to go?
Well, Nathan and I have the hotel at the Gold Coast across the street from the Rio, so I'm gonna have to cancel that. But we're gonna discuss it later. We haven't really had a chance to sit down and.
Right, 2 weeks. That's crazy. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna let it ride, but it's whether or not we actually go is depending on the future.
Well, now that you're here on the ship there, you are going to be our liaison with all the high muckety mucks. Send a wave out to see if you can talk to the Grand Nagus. Maybe he'll have some sort of influence on the Ferengi that's running creation.
Me?
Yeah, you. So we can see what can be done. So
I don't want to talk to that wrinkly old Ferengi.
That's your job, though.
You're the only one who could do it.
Just give him some of those hair clippers.
Smooth them a little, smooth talking. Yeah, and they like the ear rub.
Exactly. Yeah. Remember the ear rub.
The umox.
I'm wearing gloves if I'm giving them umox.
I think gloved umox is okay.
Definitely a mask too.
Give him emox. Just cut all his ear hairs because it's really you can break them things into locks. So just make sure you be able to do that.
I will try. I'll see what I can find out.
You got any news for us there, Rocky?
I have a couple things. Of course, I've been enjoying looking on the net for online events happening because we're not meeting in person, we're meeting virtually.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to galaxycon.com and they've got one going on June 14th, and it's involving the Star Trek Enterprise, some of the cast members from Star Trek Enterprise. So that should be quite entertaining. Those guys are great.
Is Scott Bakula going to be part of it?
I think it was the engineer and the weapons guy.
Oh, so Trip and Tucker and Trip.
Tucker and Trip, yeah.
Those two are a pair. Usually you don't see one without the other. So
and they're
cool.
very entertaining. They're very good.
Oh, extremely.
Yeah. And then the other thing I saw, I was just, doing my little twittering around and stumbled onto a interview from Ronald D that I really enjoyed. Him talking about, what it was like to be in the writer's room, and then, the difference between working for Next Generation versus DS9 and that sort of stuff. And that was from Collider.com is where I found that one on.
FYI, there's the Enterprise one on the 14th. There is a Next Gen one on the 13th.
And that's one with Jonathan Frakes.
Yeah, Beverly, William Riker, Crusher, Tasha Yar, Q, and then it's not Star Trek related, but it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, Fright Night. Come on, you guys, Fright Night?
Fright Night?
Hello?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, you're so cool, Brewster.
Well, I would have said something if it was Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes, there is. There's
Rocky
Rocky Horror
They
Picture
actually
Show.
did. Yeah, I did see that fly by. They had one of those.
It's June 13th.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Oh, there you go. So that one
4 Eastern.
Yeah, cool.
Cool.
We got a lot. This is the first time we have so much news information. How cool is that? Things are moving along in the galaxy.
It's what happens when there's nothing else to look at.
There's a Deep Space Nine one on June 27th, and then a Doctor Who on June 28th.
They've got all kinds of things coming up, so it's a good one to go to
cool.
research. If you're a fan of any of this stuff, yeah, check that out.
Speaking of Ronald Moore, if you're a big fan of everything he's done, and if you have Apple TV, there's For Mankind. There's a series he has on there, which is very entertaining. It's set in an alternate future or an alternate timeline, so to speak, where Russia beats us to the moon.
It's quite a trip.
The United States goes through in order to try to catch up to the space race and get to the moon. So it is, you're right. It is quite a trip, and it deals with all kinds of different issues on there. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
Well, I just got Apple TV free with my new iPad, so I'll have to check that out.
Very nice.
Yes.
The expensive freebies are good things.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. So we're going to move on a little bit now that we've gotten the news out of the way.
And the introduction of your brand new fabulous crew member. Thank you very much.
He needs no introduction. He self-introduces. Yes.
Right?
Just make sure when you're walking through the ship, you watch where you step and where you sit, because there's tribbles seriously everywhere.
I'm gonna have to have like a 6 feet, divider between me and the Tribbles, like some kind of personal shield between me and the Tribbles.
It's very easy to go take a nap anywhere on the ship because you'll always hear a nice, just relaxing purr sound, just kind of everywhere throughout the ship, just a little everywhere you go.
Well, you can always take your scant and have it extended so it becomes a hoop scant. And this way it'll just kind of move them out of the way as you sweep down the corridors.
I just scant with you.
Okay.
God.
Yeah, we learned all about this with Fred, because Fred was having fun with some genetic altering. He was doing some stuff with DNA and tribbles, and that's why we have a ship full of tribbles, and we just can't make them stop. But they're good eating.
And we found out why on what we're going to be talking about. So before we jump into the review of the short trek in the show, last bit of business. Do we have any corrections this week?
No.
We nailed it last week.
Oh, cool. Nobody called in and said you did that or this.
I didn't see any comments about unicorns, though, so I'm curious about that.
Okay, what's with the unicorns? Is that like a sex toy?
You're gonna have to review the last week's episode. I understand you were in transit, so you didn't get the feed, but check it out, and then we'll talk about unicorns next week. Okay. All right, and the various settings. Okay, we're gonna go.
So it is a sex toy. Okay.
There's only a few.
It is an animal. It is a unicorn.
We were talking. There was a toy mentioned, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to see it. Okay. The trouble with Edward. How was that? I mean, wow.
There was a lot of trouble with Edward.
They could have called that WTF Edward, because
seriously.
Come on, what's with that guy?
What the freaks?
That was a very furry episode.
He was such an ass. I mean, oh my God. First, he doesn't like the new captain. And then he's trying to she's like, I don't like her. She's like a bitch, right? To other people. And they go, I think she's fine.
He's like, oh God. Oh, that so pissed me off. It was like, that was the one thing that rubbed me wrong about this episode is why is he such a dick to her? There's no reason for that shit.
He was doing the water cooler talk. He was trying to do the water cooler talk and no one was having
the replicator.
It.
Yeah, the replicator talk.
The replicator talk.
Replicator talk.
He's just standing there waiting till people get their food. And he's like, the real captain. So how's that, huh?
Yeah, he's like, barf.
Barf.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what are we in third grade? Hello.
Yeah, that just bothered me so much. And of course, the other thing being a techie, the thing that really bothered me is he has that first meeting and he's like, oh, it's broken. This thing's broken. He can't get the fucking PowerPoint to work. It's a fucking PowerPoint, dude. Come on. You're a freaking scientist. You should be able to run PowerPoint.
He freaking smacks the woman's hand away. She tries to help him and he's like, no, I can do it. She's like, no.
He's just an ass. He won't take help from people and he's an asshole. I mean, I'm sure like he's a nice guy in person. God, he rubs me the wrong way.
The part that really got me going, where I yelled because it annoyed me so much, is when she invites him into the quarters to talk to him and try to counsel him and move him the right way, and he would not shut the fuck up. She says the conversation's done. Right. He's still
well, I can keep talking and the conversation's not done.
The scene is the conversation is over. That's the entire scene, except it goes on for like 3 minutes. What the fuck? He would not shut up. He kept going. I'm like, dude, get out of her office before I throw you out. I mean, it's just like through the TV. I was going to reach in and throw him out. Oh my God.
That's the problem with some of the really intellectual, the scientific types is they're probably really brilliant at their jobs, but socially they are just complete morons. They have no clue. I mean,
not just morons. He was creepy. He was psycho killer creepy. Okay, yeah. I mean, I just have to say, the whole DNA thing where he did the human DNA and the Tribble DNA, he's a fucking furry and he's furry fucking Tribbles.
So say that one more time. You're saying he was a furry?
Yes, he's a furry because he used his sperm as DNA and that's what he put in the Tribbles and that's why that's why they were born pregnant because he had his sperm.
That really, really, really makes me even more angry about him.
I think you're stretching that one a little, Heather. I don't know. There was no talk about his sperm. There was talk about his DNA, but I think you're projecting.
You know where he got that he didn't take a blood test. There was no fucking way he poked himself with a needle. You know how he got his sperm. It wasn't a cotton swab in his face either. You know exactly how he got it. Oh my God. That's how you get a DNA result with him.
Now, I am not going to confirm or deny the fact that he did that, but I'm just saying that he was walking around in his underwear.
Yeah. What about that scene? He was just walking out right in the middle of the corridor in his whole... Yes. What the hell, man? Come on, have some decency.
And then he's like, you want my help? And he's just standing there.
It was like, seriously, if I
had anybody... That guy, as an actor, that guy, I mean, he played that.
He nailed it.
Yeah, he nailed it.
Yeah.
It was like, come on, man, come on. Okay, if you were in command and you had a person, this is a hypothetical, and you had an Edward under you, what the hell would you do?
Airlock accident. Sorry. Airlock accident.
Well, who's worse, this guy or Barclay?
You know what? I'd hang out with Barclay before I take that guy. Barclay pisses me the fuck off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but Barclay you can reason with and you can kind of help a little bit. But this guy, oh my God. And she did the right thing, which is, you know what? You're a pain in my ass. I'm transferring you. Mm-hmm. As soon as we get, if anything, I would have probably found the next habitable planet and make his ass wait there to get him off the ship faster.
Well, and you know what was hysterical was when, they're like, oh, there's a breach in the lab and they all run in there and then he comes in, he's like, oh, who did this? Like, really?
Hilarious.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah, he's got
You're the only one who was screwing with the Tribbles.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Only one person, yeah.
And speaking about that part, too, where the Tribbles start shooting out all the kids, I'm like, hey, I know that game. Fred and I used to play that game all the time. The Tribble starts spurting out kids, and we sit there with a baseball glove, and we're trying to catch the little Tribbles. Yeah. It was so much fun.
Oh my God, I forgot
you
about
tell the
that.
Tribbles, throw a slider over the plate.
I forgot about that. Y'all call that the Tribble dribble game.
Yeah, the dribble. Yep.
Well, they weren't dribbling; they were sprinting.
Don't dribble your Tribble.
Oh my God. Oh wow, the Tribble dribble that nibbled.
All they do is make this sound.
Yeah.
All the way down the corridor if you try to dribble a Tribble.
But you know what's going on as you're walking through the corridor just by hearing the sound.
They're mating.
That's well,
You
they
can
don't
hear what's
have
going
to.
on. Yeah, it's sound location. Yeah.
Echolocation.
Echolocation, yeah. Tribble location.
I mean, you know that Edward had issues because even in the beginning, she's like, "Oh, they're intelligent." Well, I don't know. They don't move really quick. They're real easy to catch.
You know what? We could just give them brain damage and solve that problem. That's his solution. That was his fucking solution. Oh my God, guy, come on! What is wrong with you?
Yes.
Well, you know what? Part of the problem is too is when you can do things scientifically, you have to ask yourself, I can do this, but should I?
He doesn't ask that.
Yeah, you just have to say, should I can do this, but should I? Is there a reason for it?
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he was full of that. He was a perfect personification of it.
Of hubris.
I would be curious to see how his career up to this point was like, because he's actually probably one hell of a problem solver.
Well, even in the meeting, in the meeting where the captain's like, how the hell did you get so far acting like this? He
must have done something amazing. We'll never know, though.
No.
Well, he got a Tribble Enema there at the end, so
Oh, jeez.
That sounded painful.
Yep.
And then Tribble didn't like it either.
No, I will give her credit. They tried their best to put them under control. They walked around with vacuum cleaners, phasing them. They did everything to try to get rid of them. And this just they replicated way too much. And then we know the Tribbles are hardy. The ship friggin' blows up at the end, and they survive long enough to make it to the planet's surface.
Yeah.
And to Klingon space.
And the Klingon space.
And to survive atmosphere like that, too. I mean, that landing through the atmosphere is amazing, as for a little ball of fur can do that.
And the people have to vacate the planet because they're just overloading the planet.
Yeah, it's kind of a disaster.
That's why Klingons don't like Tribbles.
No, and there's actually a song on the Klingon Empire. If you get friendly with one of them, they have songs singing about the eradication of Tribbles. They went to war with the Tribbles.
It was a great war, right? Yeah.
You can look it up. They actually had a war on the Tribbles. They hated them so much.
Wow.
But I think one of the best lines is like on the end when it says, "How could you let this happen?" And she's like, "He was an idiot."
Yep.
In one sentence, it really says it.
Nothing more need be said.
Literally, that's the definition of what happened. He was an idiot.
Yep.
And no amount of positivity could change that.
Nope.
No. Did you stick around after the end to see the commercial?
Yes. Oh my God, that was hilarious.
It was
the Tribble cereal.
So furry. It tickles.
My God.
And it has human DNA too.
And I like the small phrase at the bottom of the screen, the small type. It's like, "Fur may contain a choking hazard. Suggest you shave your Tribble with Edward brand Tribble razors, including the Tribble Super Salon Play Set."
Yep. And you only have to buy one box. It constantly replenishes itself.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
I did not. I'm going to have to go back and see that. I did not watch.
You got to watch it through the credits.
Don't
so
even
funny.
fib like that, Patrick, because when you brought your stuff on board, I saw your Super Salon Tribbles Edward shaving set. And I asked you, what the hell was this? And you said you use it for manscaping. I mean, come on.
I thought I passed by a couple Tribbles with some really intricate hairdos. I was like, how the heck did that happen? Now I know.
No, it wasn't me.
That's what they all say.
Yeah, that's where the mohawk comes from and everything else.
No, sorry, wasn't me.
I mean, I saw a couple Tribbles watching the Mad Max movie the other day, but I don't understand why they all got mohawks.
They thought their cousins were in Tina Turner's hair.
I saw one Tribble with a mullet.
Oh.
That was Billy Ray Tribble. That was Billy Ray Tribble.
Nice.
Just make sure they don't watch Viking. I don't want to go down the hall instead of the Tribble purring that you go down and you hear them all go, "Skull!" Don't want that to happen. Now, if anybody out there, if you want one of the more fun of the Star Trek shorts, is definitely this one. This has got to be, I think, the most entertaining Star Trek short was the Trouble with Edward.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the others were either kind of serious or, Children of Mars was pretty serious. And this was
hilarious.
The only other short one we'll watch the following week is going to be the one where we talk about the water bear.
Tardigrade, yeah.
Tardigrade. The tardigrade, yeah. We'll discuss that.
Oh, the cartoon one.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one after next week's one. That's going to be our short for that one. Now we're going to go into the Discovery episode we have, which was the title, Rocky.
The Sound of Thunder.
Yes.
Season 2, episode 6.
It was pretty good. I liked it.
It was amazing.
It was really good. It was kind of like on point to the stuff that's going on now in a way, which was interesting.
No, it was. It was the oppression of a people. It was completely on point with the Black Lives Matter movement and what's happening in our world. It was the Baul had subjugated the Kelpians for centuries. So yeah, it's completely on point.
And plus, this, I thought, was a smorgasbord show because we get a chance to see everything in this. We see the post-traumatic stress disorder for you. We get a chance to see a person coming into their own authority, which is Saru. We get a chance to see relationships. We get a chance to see a lot there. There was a lot to see on it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you had the brother-sister stuff, and you had...
Plus the whole history
Tilly
of
was
Saru.
going through things. Yeah, you got the history of the Kelpians. You were literally watching them evolve on this episode.
Yeah. I mean, Saru gets teeth in his head.
Yes, he does. And you see Saru become a fucking superhero. Did you see the way he smashed that drone?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was a badass at the end, dude. Oh my God, that was a badass Saru.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, because I was talking to Rocky about this before the show started. In previous episodes, Saru is, he's a good character and he's strong and he knows his place. And after his threat ganglia are gone, you see him like all of a sudden grow balls, basically. I mean, he's, he starts talking to the captain. He's like, "Do you think I can't do my job?" And, he gets
a little bit aggro, though. A little bit aggro.
Just a little bit. Yeah. Just a little aggro.
My favorite part was when Captain Pike walks in and Saru's sitting in the captain's chair and they sit there and look at each other. And finally, Saru's like, "Oh, yeah. I need to move."
Oh, sorry. Yeah. That's
your
right.
Chair.
You're the captain.
Yeah.
Yeah, your balls are bigger than mine. Okay, move.
I thought he's looking at him. And see, that's a good thing about a good captain. He didn't yell at him. He didn't scream. He just stand there and looked at him. And Saru's like,
you let him realize
comfy.
that. Oh, yeah, my bad. It's your chair.
It's like, wait a minute. It's like the commercial they have out there that I saw, that old commercial for Singular. It's like, "You going to get on my chair?" "No, I'm good. I'm comfy." So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Since we're still talking about the very beginning of the episode, I just wanted to say a couple things about the Doctor real quick. When he first came in and he was alive and he's all brand new and everything.
Culber, okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name. I always call him
Dr.
the Doctor.
Culber.
Dr. Culber,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, damn, the Doctor has some fine-ass muscles. And I was wondering, was he working out in the fungus world? I wanted to know if there was like a spore gym or something.
He's just perfect.
He is perfect. He is absolutely brand new, which brings me to the fact that doesn't that mean that he was basically just transported? Because when you're transported, all of your DNA and your cells and everything are brand new because they're all brand new. You were died, you were killed, and then you're created brand new.
They're brand new, but they're brand new from the state that you were in. He was recreated by the spores, and they had no reference. I mean, they just kind of like, okay, you're fresh. You got to
remember, because they removed the scar in his left his left shoulder. So,
but he still has like the memory and everything.
Yeah.
So he's still technically the same.
It's very interesting. Yeah, his memories are still there, but the scar is gone. And I just love how beautiful that was, that scar meant so much to him, because it was really the backstory of it that made him the man he is, because he became a doctor because of that scar happened when he had a little accident and the doctor helped him.
The man he was, he's no longer the same man.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that was such a beautiful story, though, a beautiful backstory. So the man he is now, he's got a completely clean slate.
And I love what Saru said, and I'm trying to paraphrase, but maybe you not feeling like who you were is you becoming who you should be.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Yeah, what was the word? Because he's very, very upset, and, he's trying to adapt because his nervous system is still coming up to speed, and he's freaking out kind of, Saru just touches him and he's like, whoa, he got startled. That
could also have been part of the PTSD, though.
Well, exactly. That's exactly why he was like that. He's very twitchy. But Saru gives him this little speech, and it was like, this whole thing you're going through, because he's going through a transformation. He just literally went through a transformation himself. So he can help him spin the whole thing positively. Like, this is good for you.
Yeah. You may not feel like who you were, but who you're going to become is going to be a better version of who you were.
Yeah.
It's really kind of, you can see if you're watching the body language, is when Stamets is like very happy that he's there and telling the stories. Yu's eyes look like he's a trapped animal still. He's like looking all around the room. And then when Stamets touches him, you figure, you get comforted by somebody you love and care about. He was like, his touch repelled him.
Yeah, he's like, don't, no. Yeah.
He didn't want to be touched. And so it's like, wow.
Well, I want to go a little further into what you were saying. When he was in the fungus world, how when the fungus were landing on him, it would burn and it would hurt. So after so long of being touched meant pain. Being touched meant, hurt. Now when he's touched, he's expecting it to be painful. He's expecting it to hurt. And I think that's like part of the reason why he jumped. It was part of a reflex. Like,
it's just an automatic reaction. Yeah.
It's definitely a post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah, he's gone through such an event that he's just trying to cope, with just existing, just trying to come back into it. He's not ready to interact yet. So it's kind of like, hold on, just leave me alone for a little bit,
Yeah, leave my husbandly duties out of this for a while, because I'm just not ready to go there.
And it deals with what a lot of vets, a lot of people who go through traumatic, not just vets, but you get people who come out of abused relationships. You get people who have a horrible situation, like they're a part of a crowd that gets shot at. And it really hits your response, your fear response. You're changed. You're really changed fundamentally. And so when you get there to people, they family, you get back, this is why you're not acting yourself, because I'm not myself.
Because the fear response is still on.
My niece was in the Las Vegas shooting that happened a couple of years ago, and she got shot in the leg. And she had, a lot of therapy. I mean, even today, she still is, not quite 100 that she was. But yeah, I mean, it's when you go through something like that, it's life altering.
It is.
And then on top of it, what MGM did to the victims of the shooting was just despicable.
Them Earth corporations just sucked.
Yeah, don't get me started.
Well, at least we know that it gets better. We know that it eventually gets better. But right now, in this time in Earth's history, it's not a fun time. But it's a birthing. So, and it does take a while to get out of all of that. Because even if you look with Saru, when what's the people, the Baku?
The Ba'u.
The Ba'u. Even when that stuff happened, you see Saru instinctively grab the back of his head, even though his threat gangula wasn't there anymore.
Yeah. And the Baku was on Star Trek Insurrection, I think.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. That's why it sounds familiar, but it's not right.
they were the ones with the shriveled faces, I think.
Oh, really?
They kept stretching their face. I think.
Yeah.
No kidding.
The stretchy face guys. Yeah. Stretchy face. Yeah.
Okay.
Stretchy face guys.
Yeah, that's what we were calling them. And then, the Baul to me sounds, of course, like the goooooood from Stargate.
Right.
So,
they do.
Yeah.
And they were all, I guess they were speaking telepathically because, I didn't see any mouth on the Baul, but
they reminded me of the tar monster that killed Tasha Yar in that Next Generation.
Yes.
They did look like that.
Very much so.
It reminded me of Cthulhu mixed with a human and a tar monster.
And their drone reminded me of Maximilian from Black Hole.
Oh,
You had the slicer
like
and dicer, the spinning thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what that came from.
Part of it.
Oh man.
Yeah, but Saru manhandled all of that.
Yeah, he wasn't having any of that.
Did.
He's just like,
Saru
no.
is a fucking superhero. He should be wearing a cape now.
He's a total badass. So awesome.
And I loved how he said when they were going to force everyone to go through the Vohai that they would prove to the Baul that they were not their baser instincts, that they had evolved and that they can evolve.
I love that. Yeah, that we give us a chance. We will evolve. I mean, it's not. I mean, don't mess with us. We will defend ourselves. But
you basically had your knee on our neck for thousands of years here.
We can
take
be
your
civil.
knee off our neck.
Yeah, we can be fucking civil if you give us a chance.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I love that. That was perfect.
It really spoke on how there's hope and things are not always what they seem to be on the surface. But then let's talk about the Klingon dude that changed. What's his name now? He was
Volk. You mean
Volk? That's it.
Tyler.
Tyler. You could see he still has Klingon ways because he used to do the same thing that Worf used to do. Anytime there's a conflict, let's wipe him out. Let's go to war. Let's shoot him. Let's do this. Like
we want to take action. Yeah.
I wonder, does that mean if I sneak up behind Ash with a Tribble, I'll see him get to jump and scream like a little bitch?
Well, you won't because the Tribble's going to be screaming like a little bitch first.
It'll warn him. It'll definitely warn him when he's coming up. You'll hear her screaming.
You might end up in the med bay, Heather.
Not the first time.
But however, Tribbles weren't the way they are now back then, because remember, this is taking place back when the Federation is brand new. So Tribbles weren't even existing yet.
Right.
So
I still think it wouldn't like Ash.
Wait a minute. Tribbles were existing yet. I'm confused because that's where Edward started it because Pike was the cat. You know what?
They had a Tribble on Lorca's desk. So, yeah.
Oh, speaking of Lorca, I read something that there's a possibility that Prime Lorca may come back.
Yeah. I heard about that. Well, we'll see.
Heather, you're not enthused by that. I take it.
We'll discuss that.
There are
I'm
personal
doing
stories.
really good keeping my mouth shut.
Yeah,
I would love to see Prime Lorca.
We'll discuss that offline.
Yeah, well, that might be an extra special episode sometime.
We'll get into that part later on. But yeah, it shows that the look also. You know how you say Saru's a superhero now? Mm-hmm. You notice when he was having a confrontation with the captain on what to do because he wanted to beam down, and Pike was like, "No, you're not coming down." And he's like, "Are you saying I can't do my job? Are you saying?" And I think that's the first time I've seen Saru actually look dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and he's definitely had that attitude. He's got that range.
Aggressive.
Saru can be real. I mean, he's freaking 7.5 feet tall or whatever he is, and he's got the speed of a cheetah. He can do some damage.
He's a predator,
and he apparently was a predator from back in the day. So don't mess with Saru. I mean, he's the guy you want on your good side. You want to give a big hug to the guy, but you saw him with his shirt off in the other episode. He's ripped. And
then the fact that his eyes, normally when he looks at people, you don't get a sense of, this is going to be a dangerous motherfucker. But when he was standing up to Pike and basically almost like demanding to go down if Michael didn't come in to smooth things over.
And boy, did she come in at the right time. The right time she came right in. It's like, hold on a second, guys.
Yeah, the look on Saru's face was so, ooh.
Yeah, it was a challenge, and the captain was not about to back down.
No, he wasn't.
And he's in authority, so he doesn't have to back down. I mean, no, it was, it's hard to say when you're in that mindset, and I've never had to deal with authority that way myself, but I have, when you get me pissed off, I'll get pissed off. I'm probably not pretty to look at when I'm upset. So I can completely relate with what Saru was going through. And he's like, no, I want to take care and do this. This is what I've got to do. I need to do this. And how do you explain that to somebody in that instance and not come across as, scary as he did?
Oh, no. And Pike had to look at him. It's like, okay, if you don't back down, I will face you.
Yeah. It's like, get off the bridge. I'm like, I'm throwing you off the bridge. I don't need to deal with this right now. So,
but it shows what a good captain Pike was for him to actually step out of himself and listen to Michael and be like, okay, you're right, Yeah.
Exactly.
There was one point, and I don't remember exactly where it was, but Saru smirked. There was like this like little twitch to his mouth, and it was like I don't remember where it was exactly, but I remember seeing it and going, okay, that is some really good, acting, especially through all those prosthetics to give, the character that kind of a depth. Mm-hmm. It was really good.
The actor's name is Douglas Jones. Is that right?
Yep, Doug Jones.
Doug Jones. He is an amazing actor.
One of the nicest people you ever want to meet as well.
And he doesn't sound like Saru in person either.
Oh yeah.
Which at least, to me, I don't remember his voice sounding like that. And
Well, Saru has a sound to his voice. He does. He is the way he talks. Saru is a character. I mean, it really is. When you hear the guy talk on stage, he's as a guy, he sounds like any other guy.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've talked about with Doug Jones, he's one of those character actors that really brings a nuance to the character that's different to anyone else. We touched on this before. You have people who put on creature makeup and they're still basically are human. When you get to him, he's got a whole different vibe to him. He doesn't even feel parts of human. The way he walks, holds his head, the way he stares. Gigi Edgley did that perfectly with Chiana.
Yeah.
It just the whole movement, the head swivel and everything. So you get actors out there that really do it.
Yeah, it's like when Saru walks, his hands wave behind him. I mean, who did he think? Did Doug think of that? Was that a character choice that he made, or was that?
He said he
or was
did.
that? It's just like
he said he did.
Those little things, that you add to a character that just make it come alive.
Well, if you want to just put on a reel of him, watch Doug Jones in The Shape of Water.
Yes.
And watch him in Pan's Labyrinth, where he's the guy who holds up his hands and there's eyes in the center of it.
Or Hocus Pocus.
In Hocus Pocus, or What We Do in the Shadows.
Yep.
What was he in Hocus Pocus?
He was the scarecrow guy, or the dead guy with the mouth.
The zombie dude?
Yeah, with his mouth sewed shut.
No kidding, that was him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Hocus Pocus.
He's been in a lot. He has done a lot of work.
He's been around for a bit doing a lot of character actors like that. So you look at him, this is a skill and a testament to his ability to be able to take a character and make it come alive.
That's one thing I love about Star Trek is the casting is so damn good. You may not realize it right away, but as you watch the show, you really fall in love with what these actors are doing because they're the best at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get down to what we were talking about, how the show have relevance to what's going on today. You hear about there's supposed to be the great equality. Well, you get people look at it and they're discovering that there's great balance, like the Culpians found it was a lie. It was not a great balance.
Nope.
And so with all of them transforming, they're creating a new balance of what's going on. Then the race was like, you know what? We don't want the balance. We're just going to kill y'all all. We're just going to wipe all of you out. And we're going to do because we don't want the balance. Not that that's happening now on Earth, but still, it's kind of the fear reaction to that.
The Baul were afraid that if the Kelpians, were able to come into their own again, that they would be slaughtered like they were previously.
And they were aware of that history, and they were afraid of it, and they were afraid of something that happened in the past versus something that's happening now. Just because it happened in the past doesn't mean that's a thing that's going to happen now.
Well, whenever you have a group of people who subjugate another, and this is throughout all history, the biggest fear they have in keeping them subjugated is that they're worried that if they had power, they would get treated like they treated them.
Yep.
Exactly.
The subjugators will become the subjugated.
Right. And they don't want that to happen. It says we treated them like shit. We don't want them to turn around and treat us like shit if they get power. So just let's keep them from getting power.
That's what I love about the way this turns around, because Saru and the Kelpians were like, no, we don't want to do that. We just don't want to be oppressed. We want to, we want to get along. We don't want to repeat history. We want to make a new future. And that's what I love. And the thing I wrote in my notes, it's, they said a new balance and a new beginning. And just the idea of having a new balance that let's fix all of the balance and a complete new beginning. And it's such a beautiful thing that happens in science fiction that I love in Star Trek, where we can just, in one little episode, completely change everything for an entire bunch of people, like an entire planet. And just like, we're going to reset things and set it new and make it right.
Well, and even Michael said that, the Kelpians were technologically, inferior to the Baul, and it would take them, decades to to even catch up to where they could possibly be a threat. But, during that time, that Baul would have to face the Kelpians on their own terms,
Either that or they could fly away. They have the spaceships.
Yeah, but obviously Saru didn't want that to be the case. And so he's, going for this new balance. And that's what he wants the rest of the Kelpians to do too, so that they don't repeat the past.
They're acting pretty nice towards them because, I don't know, I would be pretty angry if someone put a big old crystal in my village and was like, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to use this crystal and kill everyone. Ha, 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 ha. I'm like, no.
Marshall, Will, and Holly had the pylons in their village too, and they had crystals in them.
It's a crystal thing.
Yeah.
Damn crystals.
Did you guys get that reference?
Not at all.
Marshall, Will, and Holly, Land of the Lost, Enoch, the Slee Stack.
Going right over my head.
Oh my God.
Slee Stack.
Good Lord.
Slee Stack.
Okay.
But the thing is on that, what happens is I'm sure you're going to get some people that might be upset because they've lost relatives to this for the great balance, the great calling that they called out, that you had family members that didn't have to die.
Yeah.
That was put out to sacrifice to keep the balance.
Like Saru.
And it was so ingrained in them. Exactly.
Like Saru's parents.
It's not going to be easy, that's for sure. But I think they're going to do it. I mean,
no, we know he comes across his sister again later on. So we do see that the sister comes back on board the ship later. But it was a very good episode. I mean, you get a chance to see Saru, like we said, come into his power. We see that Volt or whatever is still a paranoid ass Klingon. Everything he looks at, it goes right to the negative right off the bat. Even Pike has to turn around and go like, dude, really? Everything?
I thought this love. Section 31 seems a bit paranoid. Like, no shit.
That's kind of their MO.
Yeah, it's kind of what they do.
And how did you like the look on Saru's eyes when you saw the Red Angel? You could almost see his eyes shifting and taking every nuance and everything in to the point he's like, Rain Angel's a woman.
A mech woman.
But I don't know if I think later, we find that out later, but in this episode, I don't think that was.
No, they said it was a mech.
Yep. He said
it was a
woman.
humanoid. Well, I don't know if human.
No, they said it was humanoid. That was humanoid. Yeah. I don't think they said whether.
He said it was a humanoid.
Yeah, I don't think they said whether it was man or woman, but it was just,
it was female.
The interesting thing about that is, of course, we learn in the future that the Red Angel is actually two different people because it was Burnham or it was Burnham's mother.
Spoiler.
Oh, by the way, spoiler alert. Damn it.
Section 31 is going to be here any minute now. Thank you very much.
That's sorry about that, guys. So I think this one was actually Burnham, but I wonder each time the Red Angel appears, who's triggering it? Was it Burnham or her mother?
I thought it was Burnham.
I think this one was definitely Burnham.
Because in the end, Burnham, spoiler, in the end, Burnham is like, so I'm the person, I'm the Red Angel, and I have to go back to each of the points, and I have to set this up so that way we can win. So that was her going through and making those changes. Yeah,
it was the unexpected ally that they could set up, and it was all because of the Red Angel.
Well, there's one way to be able to tell if Section 31 from the past comes and visit us, if we all of a sudden hear Janet Jackson's Control. We know. So if we hear that theme song go off, we know exactly what's going on. So there's that. So just be careful.
Crazy.
I think, again, it was a really, really good episode. I enjoyed it immensely.
I just wanted to point out the little parts that I liked. I liked watching Ariam in this. We had just little bit parts, but we got to see a little bit of Ariam doing her thing. Mm-hmm. And I just ate that up. I just love it so much because and when she gets her episode, I'm going to have like teary things going on. So just warn you guys ahead of time.
Well, it was funny because Tilly's all like, oh, well, Ariam's helping me out with, she found it. Oh, okay.
She's like, she already got it. Yeah. She's so good at what she's doing right there. It's amazing.
Tilly. Love Tilly.
Tilly is pretty cool. And as they used to say back on Earth, we love her also because she's thick. So
is that with the 3 C's?
Pretty cool. Yes.
Okay.
So she's nice. So we definitely like her. Now, don't forget, we're getting ready to wind down here on the episode. Next week is going to be Far Beyond the Stars. We're going to be watching, and we're going to discuss
Deep
it.
Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 13. So Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 13.
So 13. There will not be a Star Trek short this time, so you don't have to look at the short. And if you're not into listening to what's going on this or what's happening, there's something that I'd like to read to you guys that I posted. And I probably will say it again once we have the show here, because there are a lot of people who unfortunately respond to when you mention Black Lives Matter. They like to say that all lives matter. Mm-hmm. So I want to say this statement here. Back in the time when the Boston Marathon was bombed, everyone's profile picture on Facebook and social media went Boston strong. Nobody ever responded to all cities are strong. When the Vegas shooting happened, people changed their profiles with Stand with Vegas. Nobody responded, well, what about the people that got shot in my city? Have you ever seen anyone counter a breast cancer post with, what about colon cancer? But for some reason, if someone says Black Lives Matter, it turns into an all-inclusive, all lives matter. It's not an either or proclamation. When there's a crisis, we as a people have always rallied around that particular group. It doesn't discredit or diminish any other group. It just brings awareness and support to the group that needs attention. Just like when people say, save the dolphin, you don't go, well, fuck the porpoises. You know, so it's just a matter of that. So that's what I'm going to put out there for you guys. And I know people like to use Star Trek as an escapism, but Star Trek also gives us a lot of lessons to learn and a lot of things to see from that viewpoint. So that's
it's a blueprint for how we should live, you know.
And I agree. So that's what we're going to be discussing on next week's episode.
Awesome.
So thank you everybody for joining us. And Patrick, you have a lot of work to do because the computer systems are truly screwed up right now. Because I told it to make coffee and the computer responded, it's like, you don't need coffee, bitch. You take tea. So please fix it. Okay?
Yep.
Good and Lord.
I don't think it's a Tribble in the gears because I think we got all the Tribbles out of the gears.
The Tribbles are not in the computer room. Yeah, the Tribbles are not in the computer room. So I don't know what's going on.
Server room is off limits. So, you know, I'll get in there and take a look at things and see what's going on.
Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for joining in with us. And remember, be safe out there. Wash your hands. Stay socially distanced, even though everyone is out there running around. That virus is still there. We want you safe and come back to us for the next week and the week after that. So just don't have a great week. Make it so.
Starfleet Underground, beaming into a podcast feed near you. Log on to our website at starfleetunderground.com and send your comments and questions to thecollective@starfleetunderground.com. Follow us on Twitter at StarfleetUnderG and on Facebook and Instagram, we're Starfleet Underground.